Drag racing with 3 wets, I'd just say absolutely fucking brilliant. People think drag racing is basically just going fast in a straight line. They've got absolutely no idea. There's absolutely no feeling like crossing the line and just knowing that you've left absolutely nothing behind you. The thing is, this isn't a sport, it's an addiction. Every time I strap in, I know it could be the last time. So, where I grew up and what kind of kid I was. I grew up around here actually, in Grimsby. Moved to Hull when I was about 5 years old. What always drove me towards cars, drag racing, the sort of adrenaline, danger aspect of everything. I just love the thrill of it all. I can remember watching car programs, Top Gear and things like that. And I always remember thinking to myself, to be testing the new Ferrari on there, for example, I'd be thinking, I want that one day. So I just worked hard and you eventually get it. I remember speaking to drivers when I was younger and they'd say like Top Fuel drivers, I'd be 10, 12 years old. What do you want to do when you're older, kid? Want to race Top Fuel? And here I am. My entry point into motorsport, I've got Chris Hope to thank for that. So he raced straight liners on his Harris Magnum bike. Then he bought a Pro Stock motorcycle and he started doing the FIM European Championship. And that was when we really got the bug for it. Myself and Alex, my best friend, we both went our separate ways. He went 2 wheels, I went 4 wheels, but ultimately we were always destined to race in the big league. The first time I ever even went down a drag strip, it was actually in the 2-seater. And I'd already bought a car, so it was a good job that I enjoyed it. I did my licensing at Shakespeare County Raceway. Really enjoyed that. It was a great place, great fun. I was in Super Pro, so I did about 1.5 years in Super Pro. I never forget the buzz of going down it the first time. It was absolutely fantastic. I remember starting to tell people that I was going to do Top Fuel. A lot of people thought, it's Top Fuel at the end of the day, so maybe thought I didn't have the balls to do it. I knew that I did. I knew by hook or by crook I was going to do it. Outside of a track, at home, even at drag racing, to be honest, I am just who I am. That's why we sort of gained so much traction within drag racing, is because you get a lot of people trying to bring, I would say, probably far too much professionalism to what isn't a professional sport. I'm quite sort of quite outward and open in saying that it's my hobby. I think that just reflects in my personal and professional life as well, really. Like, there are no airs and graces in me. I'm quite a big, loud, brash character, and yeah, just get on my shit, basically. It's yeah, there's no front, there's no fakeness. It's just, I am just who I am. In regards to being a perfectionist, I would say I am. In the sort of milder sense of a term, it's one of those things where you like running your own business. I've obviously got quite a lot of kids. Racing at Top Fuel, you need a level of that anyway, because if you don't, your things can get sloppy, and when things get sloppy, especially on the strip, they can get pretty dangerous. Certainly doesn't represent danger, speed-wise. There's an element of control, because I know that to be able to do 300 mile an hour, don't get me wrong, these cars sometimes drive our road straight. They're designed to go in a straight line. I know the naysayers against drag racing will always say, we don't in 10 corners. You're doing 300 mile an hour, you need to know what you're doing. It's as simple as that. The biggest thing for me is the freedom. There is no better feeling on the planet than you going down that drag strip, you get into about 800 feet, everything's whining, roaring away, and you know that realistically, all there is you, that car, and that's it. So obviously we started the season doing the Festival of Power. It was test stroke exhibition runs. It wasn't a FIA championship round. I feel as a driver and as a team, and I guess Runa having rebuilt the car, we achieved quite a lot. Although we didn't really get down the track properly. Don't get me wrong, we got fairly far down, and it was a good team bonding session basically, but that was pretty much it. We were definitely chomping at the bit for the main event straight afterwards. I remember after the Festival of Power, I'd sort of shaken the cobwebs off. The big difference between the Festival of Power and the main event is obviously the main event is a race. So I was pretty confident in my abilities again as a driver, which was a big thing because I'd spent quite a lot of time out the seat. But it was a totally different kettle of fish, thinking to myself, I've got to race now. With regards to who piles the pressure on, it's definitely myself. At the end of the day, these guys, some of them were new to it, some of them were sort of stalwarts in the leagues, and they'd spent all winter building these cars up again and honing their skills and getting used to each other, building a good rapport. I am ultimately the meat in the seat, and I need to hold my foot down for 4.5 seconds and make sure I get it right. The main event, yeah, we had high expectations. At the end of the day, it's an FIA event. There are 20,000 or 30,000 people watching you, tons and tons of people watching you on social media, live streams, etc., etc. So the pressure's on, you've got to perform. It's not good enough to be putting half passes down all the time. Do you know what I mean? If it doesn't shake, it'll spin. If it doesn't spin, it's going to blow up. If it's done, do you know what I mean? Then there's obviously the driver error. We're not perfect at the end of the day, and so many variables can go wrong. For it to go right, you've got a real small window of opportunity, and when it does go right, it's fantastic. But it doesn't a lot of the time. We obviously had some weather difficulties in the main event, and it does throw you out, not just because you might miss a qualifying run, or like in our case, we didn't get to run the final because it rained off. It's all the tuning side of things as well. That track is constantly changing, the air density is constantly changing, the moisture content's constantly changing. You don't have a baseline as such. So Runa's really working hard to get it right every single time. And it's completely different every single time. And again, that's tough, especially when you're working on two cars. So hats off to him. Lip the tyres. It's basically when they spin. These things go from acting like caterpillar tracks almost to it's like being sat on two bouncy castles. I always remember starting to drive and thinking to myself, am I going to know if it spins? Because obviously it can really increase the RPM very quickly, run the risk of blowing the thing up. You definitely know. The car just doesn't really go anywhere. It sits up right on its nose. You bounce all over the place. It's just instinct to let off. Tyre shake is the opposite of tyre spin. It's when you're basically underpowering the track. So with regards to what it feels like in the cockpit, it feels like you've done 12 rounds with Titan afterwards, basically. I remember the second run on the Saturday, I lifted early, started to, I wouldn't say shake, it was more of a rattle. Whether or not it was going to go up in smoke, or whether it was going to go into really violent shake, I wasn't too sure, but I also wasn't confident that everything was in line that morning. So I just thought, you know what, we've got another stab at this later on, so be a little bit cautious and lift. There's no shame in that sometimes. The 399 that we ran at the main event, it was brilliant, don't get me wrong. Everything worked, everything was in sync. The hardest thing was we were still obviously trying to get the car right. So I was more told to lift at the 8th. I lifted just a little bit after, I think, but you could just feel that it was so good, so smooth, so fast. I just wanted to hold my foot down all the way. That takes some real reserve to lift your foot when you know there's nothing going wrong. Off the back of what we just said about the 399 one, when it starts going right in top fuel, that's when you realise that you've absolutely done the right thing. There is nothing else on this planet can replace the thrill of a top fuel dragster or a funny car if you're a funny car guy going right. It's as simple as that. The speed is unparalleled, the noise is unparalleled, unbelievable. Like, it's rockstar territory. Drag racing is a tough one because you are just up against one other person, and ultimately you don't really pay any attention to what they're doing unless they're going to come in your lane. I think the winning mentality to have would be to just ignore what they're doing. Like, obviously you can't double bull them in stage. Your crew have to do things relatively in sync with their crew, but regards to the racing element, you are racing against yourself basically. The win against Dennis was pretty big. Dennis is a good guy. They've got a real good set of lads. His father's a good man. They're just good people and we're good friends. That makes it all the more like fun, but it also makes it a lot more savage. Like we just wanted to chop each other down on the tree and nail each other to the fence at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? Final of the main event, it was like any other final I've ever been in, really. It starts getting pretty serious. You're an hour before, you've done the warm-up. The crew were ultra composed, except me. It was my first event back for 6 years and my first final. And when we got there and we got right down to literally, I think it was 2 pairs before us, and the heavens opened, and it didn't stop opening until 8 o'clock at night, I think it was. And unfortunately it got rained off. We were literally 5 minutes away from potential victory. Typical Santa Pod weather, really. It started raining and it sort of stopped. Then it started, then it stopped a bit. Then it just heaved it down, and you've literally got to the point where the adrenaline's coursing, and I've gone through my protocol, driving, on the lights, everything. Everything is absolutely finely polished. All I've got to do now is get the car started and get down that track. And we just never got there. And that is, as a driver, for the team, it's devastating. The main event in a nutshell, I guess, we smashed it. We had lads on our team. Our car chief, Luke, for example, has been here 15 years. He stepped up to car chief, crew chief, so he was helping to sort the fuel in on the car, which is a big responsibility, because if you get that wrong, that thing's going kaboom. So hats off to him. Then you had guys coming in like Dave Bow, who he'd never done it before. He'd worked on his dad's super street bike, which is obviously very technical in itself, but it's a totally different kettle of fish to top fuel. It was, we had Maya on the clutch. She'd never done it before, she'd smashed it. We had a couple of lads who'd done it for a couple of years, and just super proud of all of them, really. Going into the European finals, we were obviously championship leaders. It wasn't by a lot, but you'd take any lead on the points. We were obviously fairly confident. It wasn't sort of all defining, you know, and there's still a lot to play for. I think it does make you very nervous when you have got a points lead, because you just think, well, it's me that's got to lose everything. I remember doing the burnout, coming back on the first qualifying pass, obviously. And then it was just like, I remember launching the car and I just thought to myself, there's no way I'm laying off. The car was skating around all over the place. Do you know what I mean? We were at 30, 35 degrees at some points. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just thinking, nah, no way. And we ran a 389, 307, I think it was. And it was just like, yeah, do you know what I mean? We're the boys. We needed that to settle our nerves, basically.
So we do it.
Rebuild it all again, give the car a really good clean up, check it over, make sure there's no leaks or anything, and once we're done, we're ready to go to the start line.
Going into Q2, Q3, Q4, we were obviously sitting pretty. We knew with both cars that we were up against, like from what they'd run, they had a lot more in the tank, and we knew that we had to perform better to seal ourselves the deal, basically. If we'd have qualified number 1 going into race day, we'd have won a championship. In Hockenheim, it was, again, good. We just had a few track issues. And then at the Euros, the earlier qualifiers, yeah, we were on it. And unfortunately, it started cascading down, and yeah, we just didn't have a performance in the end. Race day, European finals. Went into race day Sunday. I guess I'd say I wasn't very confident. Probably more because I thought we'd sealed it on a Saturday night, to be fair. And that was ours to lose and we lost it. Anyway, I remember hitting the pedal. Straight off a hit, the cylinder went out and you're realistically limping from there. unfortunately, then the car popped just like that. We were no longer the winners of the European Championship, and it was pretty gutted, to be fair. Describing the season as a whole in just a few words was, I've definitely got no regrets doing it. It was incredible, really. I think it's the best way to describe it. We were 6 years out the seat, and it must have been 1,000 people every meeting I went to, main event, Euros. When are you coming back? When are you coming back? And it's just like, when I've got the dough at the end of the day. It's like I say, like, I still think I can still get to grips with the fact that, and I've said it before, some chubby lad from Grimsby is doing something like this at the end of the day, and that blows my mind still. It really does.